Hey, Raiders and Galaxy, they get their first win of the season. Who's the most underrated quarterback in the league? And I'm going to tell you why what two teams did this week is going to make a huge impact going into week 4. All right, week 3, the recap. Let's go.
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Base Coverage. This is the recap as we're going to look back on the games that happened in week 3 of the ELF. Don't forget, this show is presented to you by Knoah Teamwear. Week 3 brought a lot of huge performances from a lot of quarterbacks this weekend. We've also are starting to see the identity of some teams, and I think now we have a good sample size of some teams are who we think they are, and their play has proved that through the first 3 weeks. So I don't want to waste too much more of your time. So let's get into the recap. First game I want to talk about, the Leipzig Kings versus the Hamburg Sea Devils. So this game showed kind of who both teams were. The Sea Devils defense was brutal this game. They were getting after that Leipzig's offensive line, and they were just a little bit too much to handle. A continued pattern that we're starting to see with the Kings is that turnovers are killing them. Turnovers are killing their season. I mean, their defense only gave up 14 points. They need more production out of the offensive side. That's, I'm not breaking any news here, but even their first 3 games, they lost on a turnover last play of the game. The last 4 drives against the Fire, were all turnovers. And even this game, the first quarter, they're in scoring position, and, they throw picks when they could have been up 7-0. So the Leipzig, they really got to get together on offense. Again, I'm not saying nothing that we don't already know. Their record should be way better than 0-3, but also I don't want to take any credit from the Sea Devils. They balled. Their defense came to play. Offense, was a little slow. Glenn Tunga, dog. Glenn Tunga is a dog. This dude is hard to tackle. He runs hard every play. They're gonna have to, rely on him. I think if you get him and Cisse and some more zone read and option plays, I think they could be a little bit more dangerous. And if Cisse uses his legs more, that alone is going to help open up the passing game and get, those guys like Lamar Jordan and Gene Constant more involved. But, credit to the Sea Devils. They got another win, another conference win as they took this weekend. Leipzig Kings, they know what they have to improve on. So we'll see how they bounce back going into week 4. Next game we got, this was the game of the weekend. This game lived up to the hype. The Barcelona Dragons versus the Cologne Centurions. Cologne travels down to Barcelona. Cologne travels down to Barcelona to face them in their home opener. You can kind of feel the energy from the Dragons fan base, which is pretty cool as you were watching the game. Last year, these teams combined for over 100 points in total points, and it almost happened again this year. A lot of big plays. From Zach Edwards to a lot of his playmakers, even some double pass action from Kyle Sweet to Zach, calling for a touchdown. Quentin Pounds, another dog. You can't guard Quentin Pounds. Quentin Pounds, 4 touchdowns, almost 200 yards receiving. You could tell him and Jan have a good connection. These teams are going to be here to stay. These two teams were obviously we knew what Barcelona was last year, and even the Centurions last year, it was all about Madre London. But the fact that, they're going into this, for the Centurions, the fact that they went into this game, a totally different offense, and they're still probably one of the top offenses in the league, just shows the capabilities that, that Jan had that he wasn't really unleashed last season. That offense put it on the Dragons defense, who was number 1 in the league. But ultimately, it came down to the defense playing well and stopping them on 4th down. So kudos to the Dragons. It was a great win for Barcelona. They improved to 3-0. I'll be excited for the rematch. I'm not sure what week that is, but I'm going to be excited to watch that. And it's still early. Biggest question now after watching these games is if everything goes according to how we think it's going to go, the South might get 2 teams in the playoffs. But the question is which one of those teams is not going to make the playoffs? All right, or which one of those two teams are going to make it. So it's going to be interesting to watch to see how this whole thing plays out. But this was a phenomenal win by Barcelona. Magic Zach Edwards shows his capabilities and how he improvises and puts his team in position to win. It was good. It was a good game, incredible game to watch. Barcelona Dragons pulled this one out. Raiders Thunder. This was a close game. The Raiders desperately needed this one. They couldn't really afford to go 0-3, especially in that central conference. Thunder came to play. It was a close game going into halftime. Ultimately, Raiders defense stepped it up towards the end of the second half. Joe Germinario and those guys, got the ball rolling a little bit early, but ultimately they couldn't get over the hump of putting more points on the board in the second half. Sean Shelton proved why he's a seasoned vet, and you give him a lead, and there's no turning back from there. So a lot of good play in this game. I want to see more, especially from the defensive line of the Berlin Thunder, but ultimately the Raiders pulled this one out, and Innsbruck improving to 1-2 in the Central. For the Thunder, I mean, they're in a conference where it's still wide open. And, the Thunder are not the team that we thought they were week one against the Sea Devils, so it'll be interesting to see that impact. But the Northern Conference is wide open. Thunder still have a lot to gain. This is the one I picked the Thunder. I thought they were going to pull this one out. Ultimately, they didn't. Credit to the Raiders for getting their first home win. Let's see how these two teams bounce back next week. The Russell Panthers versus the Frankfurt Galaxy. I'm going to start off by saying this, Jacob Sullivan, welcome back, my friend. He definitely showed what he's capable of and why he was the MVP of the championship game last year. 2 passing touchdowns, 3 rushings in the first half against the Panthers, a banged-up Panthers team. But ultimately, that's no fault to the Frankfurt, so I don't want to discredit them. Great defensive win for the Galaxy. I said this in my pregame show that I think whoever had the best defense was going to pull this one out, and Galaxy proved that to be them today. Panthers struggled, no doubt about it. They struggled. They missed. Malik Stanley really couldn't get going. I mean, whenever you give up 40 points and your starting quarterback's not there, it's going to be hard to stay in that battle. So, we'll see how these teams bounce back. I don't think Henson and Lloyd are out for the season, but it's going to be. I want to see if they're going to be able to be back sooner rather than later. I just said this previously, that North is wide open for the Panthers, but they're going to have to be, somewhat healthy to compete, especially since I believe they had the Sea Devils next week, so that's going to be a tough one. So we'll see how these teams bounce back. We'll see if Frankfurt could go on a little run here. I know they got another hard battle next week, but this is a beautiful win for the Galaxy as they improve to 1-2. And let's see how they improve going forward heading into week 4. Vikings versus the Surge. This game got interesting early. Three turnovers for the Vikings in the first half. That Surge defense, the zone was causing their zone passing defense was causing some troubles for the Vikings. Ultimately, the Vikings pulled away in the second half. But I don't want to discredit the Surge. The Surge, obviously, they're 0-3. They might be the best 0-3 team. If I'm being honest, that's not saying much, but they've had one of the hardest schedules, at least in the beginning of the season. But they played pretty well. I think they're getting into a rhythm each week in terms of who they are and what their identity is. So the Surge are a team to keep an eye on to see what they could do going down the stretch. The Vikings, they're the best team in the league. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They proved that. They're getting better every week. That offense is looking better every week. The defense is still strong. So how the Vikings control the narrative for their team going forward, or let's see what they do in week 4. But again, good win by the Vikings in this game. Last one, we have the Istanbul Rams and the Rhein Fire. This is the home opener for the Rhein Fire, the first home opener since 2007 NFL Europe. Almost 8,000 fans. I'm hearing there was an atmosphere unlike anything anybody's ever seen in all of Europe. The Rams started off with the first points on the board, and then after that, the Fire put up 42 unanswered points. So the Fire are a dangerous team. In the first couple of weeks, we saw a team that was committed to the run, dialing up through play action. But this game we saw a little bit different. We saw them, stretch the ball downfield. Nathaniel Robitaille, 2 touchdowns. And Wolf had 2 touchdowns as well. Matt Adams, ladies and gentlemen, is the most underrated quarterback in this league. Matt Adams may not be the flashiest, but Matt Adams is doing everything he has to and everything he's supposed to do and putting his team in position to win. And each week, this offense is getting better and better and better. If you would have asked me, heading into this game, how the fire fare between the Centurions and the Dragons, I would say, to be honest, I don't know if they could get into a battle with a team that's such high scoring as those two teams, but these guys can compete. And heading into week 4, we're going to have, as we hit the first quarter of the season, we're going to have the game of the season when the Dragons travel to Dusseldorf and they play the Rhine Fire. And that's going to be a game to watch. That's going to be a game nobody's going to want to miss, a game that I'm intrigued about. That game's going to tell us who really runs the South, because ultimately first place is on the line. We have 2 3-0 teams going into that game. So I'm going to be excited to watch that game along with all the other games. But there's nothing better when you have a game and there's a lot on the line. So as we break down that game throughout the week, it's going to be interesting to see how the teams are going to attack each other next week. But good job by the Fire taking care of business at home. Istanbul Rams, their defense is good. They need more production on offense. There's no doubt about it. It's frustrating because I think they have the talent to be a little better with her. Hence what we saw week 1 when they played the Centurions. But ultimately, we got to just see how this team fares out and give them a chance. So good win by the Fire. Istanbul Rams, we'll see what happens next with them. Man, let's dive into the picks. I'm sorry, Knoah fans. I'm sorry I let you down this week. I went 4-2. I lost to my guy Alex Malchow, who went 5-1. We went head-to-head on a lot of battles. I do apologize, but shout out to my guy Alex. He picked a lot of good games. He had a great week again, going 5-1. So unfortunately, no free gear going out this week. But tune in on Friday as we had the pregame show for week 4 the ELF, and we'll see how things fare out now. Ultimately, this won't be the last time we chop it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Talk to you guys on Friday.